$22 books, 5 CDs, $6. You might be asking, are there valuable books in there? Yes. Are there quick selling books for lower profit? Yes. There's all kinds. What about the CDs? CDs are pretty good. This one's going for good money. This one's going for less money but selling quickly. These two are new, going for good money. So 20, what did I say? 21 books? So about 25, 26 items for $6. And then we have these 6 CDs for $7.50. 4 for $5. So $1.25 each. So this person was trying to make some money. These people were not. They were just trying to move stuff. So that community yard sale was huge. It was in a church parking lot, and there were at least 50 groups or 50 mini yard sales in the huge community sale. Funny enough, when I first walk up, the first table I see is piled with books, and there's tons of boxes, and there's hundreds of books. I would say over 500 books. As I started to dig into it, I saw that most of them were fiction, but I did find some decent fiction ones, but there was a lot of the big hardcover fiction, which I never find to be any good, but there were some of those paperback fictions that were okay, and then I found some art books, and as you can see that I found about 20 books, and then 5 CDs, and this little card game, I think it is. But they were basically just giving away the stuff. And when I walked up, they said, oh, you fill a box for $5. I said, sure, I'll try. And I basically filled the box. That was really amazing. And then out of all the 50 or so tables, probably a good amount, 10 or less, had books. Went to another one, a smaller one, where they had maybe 50 books. Started looking through them, found some good school-related books that are fiction, like Kafka and stuff like that. And was thinking, oh, probably $1 each. And then the guy tells me, oh, well, the paperbacks are $2, unless it's a really thin one. Oh, $2, huh? And I gave him a chance to come back with something, but nothing. So I just walked away from that one because I was going to spend $2. They weren't that valuable. I'd walked around to a couple more places that had books, and I don't know what it is with some people, but they think that they can get $3 or $5 for a book at a yard sale. And they think, oh, it's a first edition, oh, it's in great shape. I don't think they realize the world they're living in. Whenever I've done yard sales, I hardly ever sell any books. Good luck to them if they do. Then I found a guy who was selling CDs. He had a bunch of CDs, and I found 6 of them. So unfortunately, he was charging he wasn't charging too much. I mean, I usually spend $1 on a CD, and it was $1.25, so it wasn't too bad. And there's some good ones in there. So overall, I spent $13.50 for 11 CDs and 20 books, about 31 items. So not bad. Less than 50 cents an item when you average it out. I'm going to go to another yard sale here. It's behind some sort of antique shop. We'll see. The prices might be inflated. I don't know, but we'll see what they have. So they have vinyl records, that they have books, all kinds of random stuff. See the prices back here? $6. Do some math. $8, so 14, $3, 17, $5, and $3. So that is $25. I got all of them for $10. Not bad, guys. I was surprised. I actually didn't think I was going to get much of a discount. There were probably, I don't know, 20% of the records that I looked through actually had price tags on them. The rest of them were $1 each. So I thought for sure, for 5 records that were going from $3 to $8 each, I thought, oh, well, maybe $20. I thought $20, honestly. So I was pleasantly surprised to get the $10 price. This was a kind of like an antique vintage collector picker type of paradise thing. They had all kinds of stuff. If I knew anything about all the stuff that they had, some of the older toys and board games and all kinds of stuff. I mean, I just focus in on books, which they had a lot of books. Well, not a lot, but they had some laid out. Weren't ones for me, and they didn't have any CDs, so I saw they had a bunch of comic books and they had records right next to each other. So I checked out the records, and most of them were no good, but
There were a good amount of these bands I'd heard of, like the Byrds, like Genesis, like Roy Orbison, the one with Billy Joel. Of course, they had Sinatra. A couple of those guys are going for really good money. I'm talking like $30 to $40. Most of them were going for $20 and up, because I wasn't sure how much they were going to charge me. If they were going to charge me the flat $25, or they were going to give me a discount.
Let me show you the records I got. I got the all-time greatest hits of Roy Orbison. Most of them are from acceptable to good condition. They have a good amount of wear. Dwight Yoakam, Just Looking for a Hit. This Frank Sinatra, A Man and His Music. I think this is a double LP. Toto. You can see it there. And finally, Billy Joel, 52nd Street. So, went through them again in terms of price, and combined, based upon the FBA offers currently on Amazon, they're all five going for combined about $150. So I'm not sure whether or not those prices are prices that I'm really going to list them at, but that's pretty good. Even if it's $125, that's good off of a $10 investment. So I was glad that I picked those out. I was prepared to pay the full price, $25, which still would have been a good investment, but thankfully they only charged $10. So I might go back to this vintage shop to look through the rest of their records at some point in the future. Overall, I find it hard to find good vinyl out there at thrift stores, and I don't find too much at yard sales or estate sales. And when I do, they tend to be really, really old stuff that is not selling well. So I was glad to find some stuff. I recognized the artist, or the cover looked a little bit newer in the sense of it's not from the 50s, but more from the 70s or 80s. And those kind of stand out, whether it's rock or pop or country or whatever it is. There's some genres that are good in those eras, in the 70s and 80s. That's what I've mostly found. Music, I found some in the 60s, like the kid stuff, but most of it's 70s, 80s. So today was fun. I was surprised that first community yard sale to find so many books. When I first walked up to the sale and saw all of those books, at first I was thinking, is this like a bookseller getting rid of his duds? And then I found out that I believe it was somebody's collection of books who had died, and their kids were selling them, or one of their kids was selling them, and they might have been donating the money to the church, so they were just trying to get them out and move them. People were buying them, but they're probably going to be left with still a good amount of books. But you figure the prices that they have, they're going to sell a good amount. It was a very, very profitable Saturday. The $6 box combined with the 5 records for $10, we're probably looking at, and those other 6 CDs I got, easily over at least $250 to $300, and I only spent $23. These yard sales, and I didn't even go to an estate sale, but yard sales, estate sales can just be killer, guys. I highly recommend them. And people usually are just trying to get rid of their stuff. They're willing to negotiate. Sometimes you'll come across a person who's not. They just don't want to get rid of their stuff that badly. They rather make money. But most of the time you can get stuff for cheap, ask for a lower price, that sort of thing. Hopefully you're able to do some great sourcing on Saturday and prepare for next week to send some shipments out. Because now that I got about 40 books, some CDs, so I definitely have enough right now for a 49 item shipment. And I'm adding to my record collection until I get around to finally processing the records. So I'm hoping for great record sales for the holidays once I finally send them out. Hopefully you had a great Saturday, profitable Saturday. And as always, remember, keep booking.